Do you feel like you're unraveling from the inside out, or things that you used to love, you no longer love, or you're avoiding text messages when you used to respond quickly and it's piling up and the emails are piling up and the calls are piling up and you just don't recognize yourself anymore? That's really normal right now. Everyone's going through something pretty profound, whether it is life-changing and life-altering or on the smaller scale. And I wanted to say I can relate to this very deeply. This is what it's called, the dark night of the soul or the void, depending on the stage that you're in. And I'm Jackie. I'm an animal communicator, a medium, and I often channel higher insight and guidance for many of my clients and myself. And I recently channeled quite a bit of information on this after so many people have come to me asking if this is normal, if it's normal to feel like almost as if they're dying, and they're not, and they don't want to die, but it feels like they are. And I just want to assure you that this is an uncomfortable stage of a spiritual awakening. And what's actually happening is you are shedding the old layers of yourself and you're not quite reborn into the new version of you. And I want to go ahead and read this channeled message that I got, and I actually put it in a blog post for you guys to read, but I'm gonna go ahead and read it off my computer just to make sure I don't miss anything. And hopefully this helps you and you find that it resonates and interesting, and I'd love to hear, are you going through this as well? Why awakening feels like dying. The convergence of the dark night of the soul and the void. You think you've hit your lowest point and then something deeper cracks open. Not just physical pain, not just sadness, but a silence so loud it erases your joy, your identity, and your will to keep going. You're not tired, you're being unmade. This isn't burnout, this isn't depression. This is what happens when the dark night of the soul collides with the void. A rare and beautiful overlap that marks the death of the version of you that was never meant to go the distance. And it can feel like you're actually dying. So what is the dark night of the soul? You don't usually realize you've entered the dark night of the soul at first. It often begins subtly, a creeping sense that something's off. Maybe it's your work, maybe it's your relationship, maybe it's the things you used to love no longer light you up. But then it deepens, it sharpens, and it breaks. And suddenly you're not just questioning things, you're completely unraveling. The symptoms of the dark night of the soul are emotional, but it's not depression. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of an awakening. The dark night of the soul mimics depression, but it has a different root. It's not a chemical imbalance, it's not just burnout, it's your soul actively tearing down every false identity it no longer wants to carry. So you may find yourself weeping out of nowhere, even when nothing happened. Unable to feel joy in the things that once meant everything to you. Feeling isolated, even when surrounded by people. And wondering if anyone, even your spirit guides, can still hear you. You may stop answering text, you may stare at your ceiling for hours, you may beg for a sign and hear nothing. But that silence isn't abandonment, it's forced stillness so the old can fall away without distraction. So what's dying during a dark night? The version of you who had to be strong all the time, built your worth on performance or productivity, survived by being agreeable, needed, or useful, measured your value by how much you gave, helped, and endured. This version kept you safe. They got you this far. But they're exhausted now, and your soul no longer wants to operate on survival, it wants truth, authenticity, and peace. So they have to go. And that grief, it's real, because you're not just letting go of a coping strategy, you're letting go of a self, a loyal one, a strong one, a version who really tried, and it's okay to miss them even as you let them dissolve. How long does this last? There is no one-size answer. Some dark nights last for days, some last for years, and sometimes they come in waves. But what shifts the experience isn't doing more, it's surrender. Not in a disempowered way, but in a way a caterpillar surrenders to the cocoon. The more you resist, the longer you stay trapped in the breakdown. the more you soften, the sooner you will find the space to rebuild. So what helps if you're in it? Let yourself cry, even if you don't know why. Write letters to the version of you that's fading. Let go of the pressure to feel inspired, happy, or productive. Ask yourself gently, what am I no longer willing to carry? And most of all, speak these words to yourself when it gets hard. This is not the end of me. This is the end of the version of me I no longer need. So what's the void? If the dark night of the soul is where everything hurts, the void is where everything stops. The emotion flattens, the fire goes out, and you're left staring at a blank wall, internally and externally. You don't feel sad, you don't feel joyful, you don't feel like anything. This is not depression, it's a soul level reset. In depression, there's often a desire to feel something again, a longing, a pain, a despair. In the void, even that's gone. You may notice time feels warped, days blur, motivation dissolves, nothing sticks. Ideas, plans, dreams feel like vapor. You don't recognize yourself, but you don't yet feel new. You question whether you'll ever care about anything again. And the scariest part, nothing feels wrong enough to explain it. You might look fine, you might even be functioning, but inside you feel invisible, irrelevant, and disconnected. So what is the void then? The void is a sacred pause that follows the death of your old self before the next self has fully arrived. It is the space between identities, dreams, and desires. It's not meant to be filled, it's meant to be felt. And that's where your nervous system recalibrates, where your soul rewrites the blueprint, and where you stop performing and simply exist. It's deeply uncomfortable for those of us conditioned to do, to heal, to fix, or to serve constantly, because in the void, none of those things work. Common thoughts while you're in the void. I don't care about anything anymore. Everything feels meaningless. Why should I try if nothing moves me? I'm floating, I'm forgotten, I'm just here, no one remembers me. And perhaps the most haunting, what if I never come back or come out of this? But here's the truth, you're not meant to come back. You're meant to emerge as someone completely new. So why does the void feel so threatening? Because the ego, your mind's sense of self, hates undefined space. It wants to know, who am I? What's my role? What's next? But the void doesn't answer those questions. Instead, it invites you to sit in the silence of not knowing until the answers arise organically from your soul, not from fear. This is the rewilding of your spirit, where truth grows in quiet, unseen places. How to survive the void without filling it too soon. Rest more than feels productive. Let yourself feel empty without trying to rush out of it. Resist the urge to grab a new identity, path, or belief just to feel normal again. Trust the sacred wisdom of stillness. You are not being forgotten, you are being reformatted. Just because you can't feel forward momentum doesn't mean your soul isn't moving. So what comes next? Eventually, without fanfare or fireworks, you'll feel the faintest flicker return, the impulse to create, the curiosity to explore, the whisper of joy. And when that moment comes, you'll realize the void didn't take anything from you. It simply cleared the noise so you could hear yourself again. When will the dark night and the void converge? There are moments on the awakening that shake you, but this one undoes you. When the dark night of the soul, the emotional death, meets the void, energetic nothingness, you don't just feel sad, you don't just feel blank, you feel like you're disappearing. This is the threshold where most people think they're broken. You might say, I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live. I'm not even sure what's real anymore. Everything feels meaningless, even the things I fought for. I feel like a ghost in my own life. Your nervous system is frayed, your energy field is collapsing, your identity is dissolving. Your will to move forward has thinned to a whisper. But this is not the end. This is the convergence point where the ego, the pain body, and the outdated survival self all go offline at once, and your system doesn't know who's driving anymore. It's the spiritual equivalent of death and birth colliding. You are dying, but not in a way that fear tells you. So what's dying? The part of you that pushed through everything, the part of you that needed validation to feel real, the part that clung to roles, systems, or relationships that no longer fit, the part that didn't yet believe you were allowed to live differently. And what's being born? A new nervous system, a repatterned identity built on truth, not survival, a connection to life that comes from essence, not obligation. But here's the rub. You don't feel that new self yet, so it feels like death without the relief of rebirth. And that's what makes this convergence so painful. Why it feels so much worse than other hard times. Because when this hits, even your coping strategies collapse. You can't numb, you can't hustle, you can't logic your way through it. You can't distract yourself with progress. Even spiritual tools stop working the way they used to. And that's because you're forced to stop identifying with anything external. Your soul is demanding that your next chapter begin from the inside out. No borrowed truths, no recycled selves. This is the void inside the cocoon. You are liquefying. And if you've also had physical illness or trauma, it's even more intense. If your body has gone through surgeries, infections, misdiagnoses, pain, it's not just a coincidence. Your soul has been working through death codes on every level. Physical death threats, illnesses, ER visits, systemic collapse, emotional death, such as grief, trauma, loss of meaning, identity deaths, ego unraveling, role collapse, disconnected from desires. And when you survive all three, your soul has cleared the karmic imprint of dying before being seen. And now the test is, will you allow yourself to live fully even when you don't recognize yourself yet? This is the moment that rewrites everything. If you can stay with yourself here, in the silence, in the confusion, in the mess, without forcing clarity, without trying to rush, you will discover that the version of you being born is so much more true, soft, powerful, and alive than anything you've been before. This is not collapse, this is the crowning. The role of the body in an awakening. If you've ever found yourself lying in bed, unable to move, wondering if your body is breaking down, wondering if maybe this isn't spiritual but something medical, you're not alone. One of the most disorienting parts of an awakening is how deeply physical it becomes. We expect spiritual growth to happen in the mind or heart, but awakening demands the entire body to participate. It doesn't always do it gently. Surgeries, sickness, and strange symptoms. What's actually going on? So you may have gotten sick out of nowhere, been misdiagnosed or undiagnosed entirely, needed surgery for something that couldn't be energetically cleared, experienced fatigue, nerve pain, nausea, inflammation no doctor could explain. This isn't in your head, and it's not just energetics either. Your body carries every suppressed emotion, memory, and survival instinct you've ever leaned on to stay alive, physically or emotionally. So when you go through an awakening that calls these patterns into question, your body panics, it clamps down, it floods you with symptoms, not to punish you, but because it doesn't know that yet that you're safe to live another way. So there's two kinds of tests, body versus soul. And this part is often missed, but it's key. There are tests of the body and there's tests of the soul, and they're not the same. So the tests of the body, surgeries, chronic pain, mystery symptoms, pushing through physical limits to stay alive or functional, holding on to old patterns out of necessity. These teach resilience, patience, survival, and endurance. Tests of the soul, such as the dark night and the void. Losing your identity, your why, your will to try, feeling disconnected from joy, spirit, clarity, not recognizing yourself and not wanting to. These teach surrender, redefinition, trust, and rebirth. And when they happen at the same time, as they often do during full spiritual breakdown, it can feel like everything is unraveling, and in many ways it is. The nervous system's role in all of this. Your nervous system is the bridge between your physical body and your energetic field. So when your soul starts doing deep excavation, your nervous system starts freaking out because it's wired to protect, not evolve. If you suddenly stop performing, serving, achieving, people-pleasing, your body may interpret that as a threat to survival, which is why many people in spiritual awakenings wake up exhausted, feel completely wired but still tired, struggle with digestion, sleep, inflammation, chronic pain flare-ups. Your body is catching up to the truth your soul already knows, but it takes time, it takes softness, and it takes deep listening. So what can you do to help the body through it all? Hydrate and nourish yourself even if you don't feel hungry. Use salt baths, essential oils, heat and cold therapy to move stored energy. Gently reconnect with your body through stretching, walking, or stillness. Speak out loud to your body saying, "We're safe now, we're allowed to live in peace." And remember, your body's not the enemy. It's the sacred vessel that agreed to carry your rebirth. Treat it like an ally even when it hurts. And just a note from me, you are not alone in this. I have lived through this unraveling too, not just once, but wave after wave. I lost my dream job, I moved 14 hours away from my family, my engagement ended, I sold my dream home I thought I'd build my future in, I had 4 surgeries, leaving me on strict bed rests for months at a time, all within a year and some change span of time. Then I had further complications like sepsis, and then I got COVID. I lost friendships. I lost the contract jobs I was counting on while I was unwell. I was forced to deplete all of my savings just to survive while trying to build something new from scratch. I was exhausted, grieving, and terrified. But underneath all of that, I kept hearing the same quiet message: it's not the end, you are being rebuilt. Even when my external world was falling apart, I leaned into the inner knowing that somehow, in some way, everything was gonna be okay. And that knowing didn't erase the pain, but it gave me something to hold on to. And now I see it, the collapse wasn't failure. It was the beginning of a return to myself. So if you're in it, I see you, you're not broken, you're becoming, and your light is not lost, it's just in the process of coming home. You are being rewritten. If you're in it right now, you're lying on the floor or staring at the ceiling or crying in a bathtub, wondering what the hell happened to me, I want you to hear this. You are not lazy, you are not broken, you are not doing life wrong. You're in a sacred transition, so complete, so all-consuming that it looks like death because your old self really is dying. But this is not the kind of death that ends you. This is the kind of death that frees you. You are not meant to be who you were. You are not supposed to recognize yourself right now. You are not failing by being still, uncertain, unmotivated, or quiet. You are becoming someone who no longer relies on fear, survival, or self-abandonment. You move through the world, and that version of you, they cannot be rushed, and they are not built overnight, and they are emerging in sacred time. If all you can do is breathe, that is enough. You don't need to fix this. You don't need to spiritualize it. You don't even need to make it mean something. You just need to stay soft enough to let the old self go and quiet enough to let the new one arrive. The joy will return, and so will your voice, and so will your energy, your laughter, your trust. But when they come back, they won't be a recycled version of the past. They will be new, they will be yours, and they will not cost you your soul. So, now, that's the end of my channel message that I wrote on my blog. If you're interested in that, you can visit my website. My link is in my bio, and just go to blogs and scroll down. This is a hard time for everyone, and like I said, I've been going through it myself, so I can really relate to it. Leave in the comments, are you going through something like this? Is this relatable? How are you getting through it? How do you feel? I also want to mention I am an animal communicator, and I mostly do animal communication sessions, but I also do channeled readings where we connect with your guides and ancestors and get higher insight. And often I get a lot of really profound messages that come through. And often this happens even with my animal communication readings, higher insight comes through. So if that's something you're interested in, again, check the link in my bio and you can look into that. But I wish you guys the best, and remember, you are just fine. You are being rewritten. It's so difficult. I know I go through bouts of waves of crying for no reason, and I want to just thank myself and my body for releasing that layer. Do not get frustrated with yourself if you feel like you have been working so hard through old patterns, old thoughts, and you say, I thought I was over that, and it's resurfacing. There's a couple of things going on here. One, things don't just release in one layer. Sometimes they do, but often they don't. It's one layer, you release it, and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm over that past relationship. And then out of the blue, you get hit with it again. You're like, what the heck? I already worked through this. Why is this here? Well, there's another layer that you must work through. I do want to say though, there is 2 points of this. Yes, things come in layers, but the way that I look at the earth and the way that I've kind of channeled some information and the way I conceptualize it is, if you can think of these experiences, a past relationship, let's say, as a Roomba, those vacuums that bounce around, the robotic ones, and you know that they kind of just randomly bounce around and make their rounds. Think of that as a code in the universe. And sometimes these codes on the Roomba come and they just kind of tap into us and they go, oh, and you observe it and you're like, wait a minute, I already worked through this. I really feel like I'm done with it. I don't even feel like there's layers of it that need to come up. You'll know. What that is I don't want to say test, but it's almost like a test. And it's going to run on this loop of a code simulation. And you can either choose to look at it from the third party, outside in, shine a flashlight on it and go, no, I'm done with that. And shine a light on it and just send it off. Send the Roomba to keep going. Or you can go, oh, yeah, and you attach yourself to it and you hold the Roomba from going any further. You could reignite that and almost restart that pattern again. So use your discernment. If something comes up and you feel emotion, that's something that needs to be released. But if something comes into your mind and you're like, I feel like I've already worked through this. I don't know why this is coming up. Look at it as the Roomba, as almost a simulation. The code, the computer codes. It's like your computer when you have the virus protection that's constantly scanning. Think of it like that. It's just coming in and passing around, and it's seeing if, do you want this? And if you don't, you just, nope, go away. And if you do, you grab it. And the thing is, we don't realize it when we start to attach to it. Like, oh, maybe that came up because they do want to be with me, or maybe I need to explore that again. It doesn't always mean that. Often it is, do you want it, or do you want to move on from it? And if you want to move on from it, move on from it. That doesn't mean it's finalized. Remember, it's a Roomba. It randomly is bouncing around. It might come up again, and you go, no, that's not for me, and you laugh. You can be like, funny universe. Nope, I don't want that. And then let it go. And it's gonna just get less intense each time it happens, until it's like a little blip and you're like, no, gone. I don't know why you're in my brain. So look at it that way. I hope that helps. It helps me quite a bit. The way that I conceptualize it and I'm describing it, I'll get this information and it's more of it's almost a little too complex to explain. I just feel it, and the way I explain it is just with things that, you know, we can recognize in our environment. So hopefully that does make sense for you. But if you are interested, like I said, check out my website, and I'm going to be posting more of these channel messages and more from my sessions. That way I'm not hoarding this information to myself. And if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments, and I will see you at the next one.